Hey, it's Gary, and I hope you're having an awesome day today. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would certainly appreciate it. As you may have watched others, we have been hacked. We had 3,000 YouTube videos, and they are gone. Anyway, so we're starting from scratch again. Today I want to share with you 9 specific things that you can do to have a longer life and a healthier life. Now, how I got these 9 things, I was watching a trailer on I think it was like a documentary called Healed, and it was interesting because there were people that had cancer, and they all had these 9 things in common, that they went into a radical remission, and all the people that went into this remission had these 9 things. And it's also interesting to note that 50% of the population will get cancer. Crazy, crazy, crazy. In fact, I put together a training class, and I focused heavily on these 9 things. They were so impactful to me that it made a massive change in my life just a number of months ago when I was doing this program with regards to, I've always eaten very, very healthy for many years. Most of my diet's vegan. I'm not, pushing that on you. Everybody has their own choice. But I stepped it up even another couple notches. So I want to go over those 9 things with you. If you hear a noise in the background, that's Winnie's back there. And we've got little tequila, so feel free if you want to make a comment. Say hi to little tequila. We got to keep tequila healthy too. All right, so let's get started. Let's talk about these things. All right, bear with me as I'm getting on all the software. All right, first thing, radically change your diet. All right, what does that really mean? Radically change your diet. Now, everybody has a different way, eat meat, don't eat meat, keto, no keto, halo, no halo, whatever, all these different, it's just, whatever somebody says to do, somebody says don't do. All right, so it says, radically change your diet. What would you have to do right now to radically change your diet? So I want you to stop and think about it. Now, one of the reasons people have a hard time making radical changes in their life, it's because wherever we're at right now, we may see in our minds like, I really need to change it radically and go here. But it scares us because, if we're used to eating and doing all this, and now we really know we should do all this, it's too much too quick, and that's where people have a hard time making changes. So then, notice the term radical, right? Radically changing your diet. What would make you radically change your diet? Now, I would love for you, if you need to, radically change your diet, but I'd rather you change it just a little bit and get started now than not do anything at all and say, well, radically changing my diet, going from this to where I should be, I can't do that. That will scare a lot of people and they'll do nothing. I would rather you do a little something. But why do people radically change their diet? Remember, these are 9 things people have in common. They radically change their diet because they just found out, holy crap, I've got cancer, and if I don't do anything, I'm going to die. That's where the radical change comes in. Are you waiting for something like that to happen before you make a radical change? Think about it. Now, I recently had a very dear friend pass away with cancer. And as I watched her, I get a little emotional on this. As I watched her journey, is about 13, 14 months from the time she found out till the time she passed. And as I watched her journeys, one of the things she talked about was the importance of changing your diet and watching the chemicals and so forth, which we'll talk about, that we're all exposed to. Anyway, so I'll move on. But before I move on to the next thing, okay, again, what can you do right now? Look at your diet right now. Do you have sodas? Do you have, unhealthy foods that that you're eating, that you could just take one thing? Maybe you have 10 of them. Could you just take one? Just take one thing and take it out of your diet. Is there a certain thing that you can do? For example, a lot of people, I believe, eat too late at night. If you eat too late at night, it's like eating lead. Your body doesn't have time to digest it. It also keeps you from sleeping well because your body is working very extensively on digesting the foods. So I personally try to make my last meal most of the time when I can 4:30 or 5 o'clock. Once in a while it might be 7 or 8 o'clock, but that is done consciously. So look at your diet. What can you do? All right, let's go to the next one. All right, next one is using herbs and supplements. when people think herbs, they think of cannabis and marijuana, right? That could be it. I'm not saying it's not. But anyway, so let's look at these things, herbs and supplements. Now, before I started going into this program and teaching this program, I was not big into supplements. I mean, I've always been an advocate for it. But the reason is every morning I have a very concentrated protein shake that includes protein powder, maca powder, was it goji berry? I mean, cinnamon, cocoa, cacao beans, tons of stuff. So I get a lot of quote-unquote supplements, minerals in that. But I'm also taking supplements as well. So what about you? What are you doing as part of your diet where you are using some kind of herbs and supplements? Again, people who have gone to a radical remission in cancer, these are the common things they have. All right, let's go to the next one. Taking control of your health. Taking control of your health. I guess what we have to do is we have to define what does taking control of your health mean. I saw something recently that 50% of people that are over 60 or 60 and over, 50% of them are on 5 or more prescriptions. That's nuts. 5 or more prescriptions. So, what are you doing to take control of your health? Do you exercise? If it's yes, great. Could you do more? Could you do better? Let's talk about exercise a little bit. I was with a lovely gentleman recently, a friend of mine. He's just turning 80. And he walks 2 miles a day. That's pretty good. But be careful not confusing, walking and getting up. I mean, I get up and down literally 100 times a day. Is it healthy? Yes, for sure. Could I do more? Yes, that's why I go to the gym. So I don't want you to misassociate that. For some people, I just walk, and they have all these excuses why they only walk. That's not a bad thing, but could you do more? What more could you do to take control of your health? So we're talking about herbs, supplements, we're talking about exercising. So if I asked you right now, what would be something that you could do right now to take control of your health? And as you're watching this, I hope you have a pen and paper, or piece of paper, pen, pencil, whatever, to look at some of these things, because if you jot some of these things down now, you'll have a roadmap as to what you need to do to get more results and have a healthier lifestyle. Let's go to the next one. Next one. Follow your intuition. That's an interesting one. So people who had cancer, who had a radical remission, one of the things they had was follow their intuition. Now, what you're going to find interesting in all these 9 things that we're going to be talking about, only 2 of them, I believe, only 2 of them are not mental or emotional. So we already see using herbs and supplements, that is not mental or emotional, and diet, not mental or emotional, but notice the taking control of the health, that's kind of mental, emotional. Following your intuition, that's also mental or emotional. Now, understand that the only way you can have intuition is to have experience in life. A 6-year-old does not have intuition because they don't have enough experience to draw from the consequences of the good and the bad. But as we get older, we create that intuition. I think women are better at it, but a lot of times we don't listen to it. So that is very, very important to do. All right, let's go to the next one. This one is something that I'm a huge proponent about. Releasing suppressed emotions. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to ask yourself this question. Remember, you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. What suppressed emotions might I be holding on to that might be stuck in my emotional hard drive? Sometimes you'll know right away, sometimes you won't. One of the things that you can identify that's still stuck or suppressed in your emotional hard drive, do you have or have had in your past, which most people have, some major trauma? Like for me, if you're not familiar with my story, I had everything from my wife telling me my baby is not mine. That's going to create some trauma, some suppressed emotions. My father was murdered when I was like 17 years old. Grandfather and stepfather died of cancer. I mean, I can go on and on. These things, if you don't know how to deal with them, they will start getting suppressed. And then what it will do, it'll create a lot of stress, anxiety, prevent you from healthy relationships. And I mean, you could, I'm sure, pick a ton of different things and the negative things that can happen to you by suppressed emotions. Now, if you can identify, if you're being willing to be honest, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. If you're open to being honest with yourself, what might be some suppressed emotions that you are holding on to that are keeping you from having a happy, healthier life? All right? Identify those. Write that down. Take some time. I'm hoping, I know a lot of people go on YouTube just to search some stuff, but I hope by now you're listening to this and say, wait a minute, let me slow down here. Let me get a pen and paper and jot some of this stuff down. Because if you want to make a radical change in your life for the better, a radical change, you have to have a roadmap. And by writing this stuff down, if you wrote down, hey, I was emotionally, physically, or sexually abused, or, this happened to me and it was an accident, or I lost a loved one, and jot this down. If you were to write down 3 to 5 negative emotions or 3 to 5 situations in your life that created a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, what would those 3 to 5 things be? And if you need to pause the video, pause the video, write them down. Take advantage of this information. Let's go to the next one. The next one. Bear with me. The next one is increased. Here we go. Positive emotions. Increased positive emotions. Believe it or not, I have a challenge with this sometimes because I've experienced so much crap, and if you're not careful, you'll start stacking on more and more. And here's the challenge for me: when something negative or something that I perceive as negative in my mind, in my life, happens, if I'm not careful, I will relive. I will relive. Sometimes I do this subconsciously, and you'll find you'll do this subconsciously as well. Sometimes I'll relive all those negative emotions and pack them all into like a nanosecond, and then I'll feel the negative emotions from all the things in the past. I may not be able to identify every single one of them, but I just feel the emotional pain. You've experienced that before, I'm sure. And then if you're not careful, remember this, very, very important. Your brain will validate all of your beliefs, whether they are right or wrong. Let me repeat that. This one is worth jotting down. My brain will validate all of my beliefs, whether they are right or wrong. So if I believe I'm the black sheep of the family, if I believe that bad things happen to me, or more bad things than good things happen to me, let's say I buy into that belief. Bad things always are happening to me. So here's what happens. The next thing something happens to me that I perceive as bad, I'm going to validate that. See, bad things happen to me. Now let's say the same bad thing happened to you, but you have a better attitude. You don't even acknowledge it. But somebody who's got a bad attitude about, so many bad things happen to me, the moment something negative happens, they say, there you go. See, just negative. Why does this stuff happen to me all the time? When it's happening to other people, but they're not perceiving it the way they are. Very, very important. So remember that. Watch how your brain validates these limited or negative beliefs. So again, increasing positive emotions. What can you do to increase positive emotions? One of the things you could do, if you're not used to having positive emotions, you may need to write some new ones down. If you don't write them down and you're not consciously aware of them, the negative ones will suppress the new ones that you're trying to bring into your mind, bring into your life, bring new energy into those new emotions. So think about that. All right, let's go to the next one. The next one is embracing social support. Wow, this is a huge one. So here's where I'll take you on this journey. Do you or are you involved in toxic relationships? This is what this is about, right? Embracing social support. Do you have a support team of cheerleaders? Are you a great cheerleader for some of your friends? I remember going to the funeral of this lovely young lady I was telling you about, and I was blown away of the emotional, spiritual, and connective support that she had. Unfortunately, she didn't make it. But boy, she had a support. And now her surviving family feel that love and that support. So what about you? Are you in or have toxic relationships that you need to do something about? I remember when I was in my, early 20s, 23, 22, I remember consciously writing down, I wanted to make some major radical changes in my life. And I remember writing down a couple people that I need to change out of my life, and I did. And I remember one specifically. And I got a lot of criticism for it, but the bottom line is I increased my positive emotions. You see that above, embracing social support. So I increased my positive emotions. I took control of my life. It actually gave me control of my health because I was healthier and happier. If you're going to be happier as opposed to not being happier, you are taking control of your health. So what specifically now, if I were to ask you, if this applies to you, that you need to embrace more social support, emotional social support, if this applies to you, who in your life is toxic that you would either need to get rid of or minimize some of your contacts or relationships with? Who would you add? Who could you add into your life that would bring you and give you more emotional support? And this is something I find that's so important because it's not easy to have really great, good, loyal friends. And it's nice to have a lot of them, but it's harder to have a lot of good, loyal friends. And you've got to define in your mind, what's a friend? What's a good, loyal friend? For me, it's somebody that's not going to talk behind my back. They're willing to say whatever they're going to say behind my back in front of me and say that first instead of behind my back second, or first, I should say. People who are loyal. What's your definition of loyal? These are things that I look for. And I'll tell you, it's not until every, year or two that I find that perfect fit for me and I bring them into my life in a very close level, if you will. And I see that they do the same for me, and that's what I'm looking for. All right, let's keep going. I think we're on our last one here. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is the 8th one. Deepening your spiritual connection. Deepening your spiritual connection. Now, I'm definitely not here to preach to you, and you have to define what your spiritual connection is. For some people, spiritual connection could be meditation. It could be reading the Bible. It could be reading something else. It could be going out hugging a tree, literally. It could be going to the forest, going to the beach, going to the mountains. It could be reading poetry. But what about it for you is your spiritual connection? Is it more church, more praying? Everybody has a different definition of spiritual connection. But it seemed to show that the people that had radical changes in their cancer, they had also a deepened spiritual connection. So I ask you this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, do you have a deepened spiritual connection? So if you're below a 5, even a 6, what could you do more of? In fact, this particular one got me to deepen my spiritual connection a little bit more, and I'm on the track of doing that now. After when I had, I put this program together, it was what was the name? Gosh, I forgot the name of the program. It wasn't too long ago. Freedom Movement? I forgot what it was. Emotional Freedom. Yeah, there you go. It was my Emotional Freedom program, showing people how to create more emotional freedom. And these 9 things are things that we do to create more emotional freedom. So depending on your spiritual connection, if it's low, you want to increase that. It gives you more emotional freedom. It gives you that desire to connect. So, deepening your spiritual connection. What could you personally do? What could you personally do to deepen your spiritual connection? So first of all, you've got to identify what's my spiritual connection. So what is it for you that gives you a spiritual connection? Jot that down. What is it? Is it prayer? Is it, just meditating, going out for a walk, going to the mountains? What is a spiritual connection for you, and can you deepen it? And if you can deepen it, I'm sure everybody could say they could, right? If you can deepen it, what specifically would you need to do to deepen it? All right, let's go to the ninth one. All right, the ninth one is have a strong reason for living. This is a good one. So if I said to you on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how strong is your reason for living? Where is it at? Now, when I went over this program in my Emotional Freedom program, and I was very transparent and honest with everybody, I told everybody it's about, I don't know, maybe a 4 to a 5, I think. Now, why would it be so low for me at that time? Well, the reason being for me is, being a cult survivor, when I left this cult, your family is programmed, your so-called family and friends are programmed to shun you for life. In fact, they are programmed and taught to treat you as if you're dead. So imagine now if you're close to your friends and family and all of a sudden with a decision that you make that now they treat you as if you're dead. That's pretty intense. So you lose a lot of your purpose for life. So with that being said, I don't have an intimate family. I never had kids. So I have to keep looking for ways to increase my purpose in life. Purpose is very, very powerful. Purpose gives you also hope. Hope is the anchor to the soul. All right, so let's look at that. Having a strong reason for living. Be honest with yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. Where are you at? Where are you at on having a strong reason for living? If it's low, you've got to figure out ways to increase it. I can't tell you. No one can tell you to do this. So I'll give you an example. And I'm not going to go heavy into the story because I've told it before. I'll probably tell it again maybe in another video. But I had a friend of mine. He was 82 years old and he was very fragile. I got a phone call from somebody, I don't recall who it was, and they basically said that he is probably got a couple days to live. He's not doing well. And I remember going to his hospital room, and I'm barely walking into the room, not even to his bed yet, and all I could hear out of his mouth was, "I wish I was dead." He had no reason for living at the time. Now, I can't say, here's the problem where you got to be an effective communicator. An ineffective communicator would listen to that, especially somebody that's trying to be positive, which they mean well. They'll say, "Oh, but you've got your friends and your family," and he knows that. But for whatever reason in his mind, excuse me, at that particular time, his state of mind is not receptive to, "But you've got family, God loves you, look at all these flowers and get well cards." He's not receptive to that. So we had to come up with something else that he could truly have a reason to believe that he should live on. And we were able to do a very cool thing for him. And it gave him a purpose to live, so much so that he lived for years after that. So what about you? Scale of 1 to 10, where are you at? Where are you at? Do you have a strong reason for living? Are you at a 3? Are you at a 5? Are you at a 10? I watched a program not long ago. It was mind-boggling. To give you an idea of the purpose of having a reason to live, what it can do. It was these soccer players. I think it was in the 70s or the 80s. You may have heard of the story. They crashed in the mountains somewhere in the Andes or something like that in the winter. I think there was 45 people on the airplane in the first accident, the crash, and I'll say the first accident, I'll tell you why. In the first crash, 23 of them, I think, died. So they were like I'm talking in a mountain that no one's going to find them. And they got to the point that they started starving. And then they started eating each other. Check that out. One guy, his mother and sister died. And everybody ate them. That's crazy. Now, I'm not being judgmental, and I don't want you to. And then they had another huge storm coming in. So they all went back into the airplane. There was an avalanche. That avalanche killed another 10 people. So I think there was only 11 or 13 left. They did this for 72 days before they were found. Unbelievable. But they all had one thing in common. What was it? They had a strong, they must have had a really, really, really strong reason for living. So when you have a strong reason for living, when things like this happen, and most people will never experience some of the things that these people ever experience, that's for sure. But when things are challenging, you have to have a strong reason for living. So I am constantly looking to add more things in my life to give me more of a purpose for living. My close friends are one of those things for me. I also call this having hope. We spoke about that earlier, right? Hope is the anchor to the soul. Want to have a hope chest. What is your emotional or mental hope chest? That you have things inside that give you hope. Because if you only have two things of hope in your life and you're hanging on, something's happening where you're just hanging on for life and you lose one of those hopes, you've lost 50% of your hope. You're hanging on with one finger. That doesn't leave you much to hold on to. All right, so there you have it. Hope you've enjoyed today's program and video. I'd love to see your comments below. I do try my very best to personally respond to a lot of them. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Share this with your friends and colleagues and family. And let's go quickly over the 9 things again, and I will be out of here. All right, again, radically change your diet. Using herbs and supplements, where are you at on that on a scale of 1 to 10? Taking control of your health. Can you do something more to take control of your health? Do not wait till it's too late for a doctor to tell you that you're going to have a heart attack or you've just had a heart attack. Following your intuition. Releasing suppressed emotions. This is a big one. Releasing suppressed emotions. Increasing positive emotions. Embracing social support. Deepening your spiritual connection. And having a strong reason for living. All right, there you have it. Share where you're at on some of these in the comments below. I'm really curious to see some of yours. I've been a little honest with you on mine. All right, remember, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. I'm out of here. Between now and the next time we get the chat, you know what to do. Don't let anything or anyone rent space in your head. Have an awesome day. We'll see you.